How's it going, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back. So tonight I have I'm doing another ranking video, which I love doing these. I do a lot of these on my channel, and I just love putting those together in these videos. But this one's definitely a fun one. I'm getting this out on Friday, so I want to get something really fun for the weekend. But the title of this is going to be my top 10 favorite Part 2 movie sequels. So a lot of these, obviously, Hollywood loves sequels, but a lot of sequels are definitely cash grabs. We got to say that for sure. But there's definitely a lot of great sequels, the ones that are definitely worth, continuing that story from a franchise, and they're not just there to collect money. And sometimes they're fun, the ones that the fans actually really want to see. So I actually have 10, like I said, 10 titles here. I have four honorable mentions. A lot of these honorable mentions are like newer movies for the most part. On my list, I actually have like three from the 21st century, but there's some on my list I just wanted to mention. I think are great sequels, but some of these were actually on my list and actually kind of left the list a little bit here. But one would be X2. A lot of us are into Deadpool and Wolverine, so it's the X-Men franchise is kind of back on the map with Fox. Finally, Disney finally showing like the Fox characters and stuff like from the X-Men and all that stuff. But also the Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, I think is a great sequel. Batman Returns. I actually have. I wanted to include another one from this franchise on my list, but I love Batman Returns. I thought it was great. I'm gonna kick this off with one that's from the 21st century. Like I said, you'll notice a lot of these movies I have are all in like box sets. A lot of them are. Because a lot of these, like I said, the franchises, so they're going to be in a box set. But this one's from 2004. It's from director Sam Raimi, and the movie is Spider-Man 2. This one, outstanding. You see Spider-Man 2 is on the back here. That's why I like to put the movie posters on my left, because the posters are going to be usually different from what the box looks like, and when they're in a box set, you kind of showcase the movie itself, but in the movie poster. But this one's starring Tobey Maguire. Anybody that saw Spider-Man No Way Home will definitely love seeing some of these, some of the Spider-Man actors coming back to play that role. It's Kirsten Dunst, has Alfred Molina. I thought he did really good as Dr. Ock, or Doc Ock. Thought he was really great in that, and James Franco, obviously. But yeah, this one I think is an outstanding. Just that whole scene, the subway scene in this movie, it's so memorable, and just gave so much. So much heart to that character that's just the way that the other actors kind of reacted to seeing Spider-Man and seeing who he was under the mask. So I thought that one's really special, really memorable. So at number 9, this obviously these next two are ones I've watched since I was a little kid. They've stayed with me this whole time. Obviously my list is not going to be the official list. Obviously, please leave in the comments how you would list these. But so at number 9, this is from 1982. And the movie is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Outstanding. Directed by Nicholas Meyer. William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. It's amazing that William Shatner is still with us. Leonard Nimoy, I think he passed away maybe like 10 years ago or something. But these characters, I was definitely, I would say I relate more to the Next Generation cast of Star Trek. But the original cast, I grew up watching those, watching repeats, on TV, watching the original cast, and how kind of primitive the special effects were on that show and stuff like that. And the movies definitely did a great job. They used like industrial light and magic. That's definitely the Star Wars connection to Star Trek. You could say a lot of ways Star Trek made Star Wars, and then you can say Star Wars brought Star Trek back, into the movies, and brought these characters back, these beloved characters that people saw. And I loved Ricardo Montalban. He's a great villain in this movie. It was like a character. Like Khan was like a character from the TV series. And it was on like one episode, and they decided just to bring him back. And I thought they did a great job. It's probably the best Star Trek movie overall. And I really like First Contact as well. But that was much years later with the Next Generation cast. But so at number 8, this one's from 1980. The movie is Superman 2. This I really liked. Richard Lester took over this as a director. He replaced Richard Donner, whom had gotten fired from the. Richard Donner did a great job on the first Superman movie in 1978, but he got fired from the project. They were kind of filming these back to back, which is kind of rare. You see that, like with the Lord of the Rings franchise, you saw that a lot. But back then, I think that was pretty rare, and the fact that they fired the the director before part two was released, is outstanding. And Richard Lester is really known for doing like working with the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, and Help. He directed those movies, and so I think he still did a great job. And see the villains that came back, it has the iconic Christopher Reeve, really great. It has Gene Hackman, Margot Kidder. I love this cast. I thought Superman 2. There's just so many. The character changes in that movie, and the ending's really great. The movie is really clever. Okay, so number 7. This one's from 1978. It's kind of a loose sequel to the original from 1968, but it brought the zombie craze back. It's from director George A. Romero, and the movie is Dawn of the Dead. This one is I love the cast in this movie, especially the fact that I'm from Indianapolis. I have to appreciate this movie, and people love this movie already, but I have an extra feeling for loving it because it's got two actors that are from Indianapolis, and it also has the guy that plays Flyboy is from Evansville, Indiana, and then the other guy, Roger, I think he's from like New York or someplace. He definitely has a New York accent. I think that's where he's from, but I love this movie. This movie, obviously they made like Day of the Dead in 1985, but this one, it's just as primitive as it looks, and as Tom Savini really didn't know exactly what he was doing with his makeup effects, but I still love it. I love the relationship between the four main characters. What they do. Obviously, there was a remake of this in 2004, but for me, I still love the original. Okay, so at number 6, this one's is the newest one on my list. From 2022, the movie is Top Gun Maverick. This has director Joseph Kosinski. This one I think is, for me, culturally significant. It definitely helped save movie theaters at the time during COVID. Got people to leave their homes and see this movie in droves. Made over $1 billion, and so for me that makes this movie a really special sequel. Obviously, the fact that the way the original was in 1986, and the fact that they made something, I think that the story might actually be better than the original one. And I really love the cast. I just love overall what they do this movie. I think everything's pretty much perfect in the movie, and audiences really love the movie. But obviously, it's Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, has a Glenn Powell, whom is kind of a rising star in Hollywood. Even though this is probably my favorite, the Hangman character that he plays in this is my favorite. All right, so at number 5, this one's from 1974, and I'll tell you, I love the original even more than this movie, but this one's directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and the movie is The Godfather 2. Obviously, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro won an Oscar for his character in this. The two of them aren't really on screen because obviously De Niro is playing the father of Michael Corleone. So obviously they're not. I think they may do like a split screen kind of thing. It's been a while since I've seen it, but the one complaint I have about this movie is it's like 3 hours and 20 minutes long. And the original Godfather is like 2 hours and 55 minutes, which is pretty long for a movie. But the fact that they couldn't cut this movie down just a little bit, But to me, it's a great sequel. It won Best Picture, just like the original. So at number 4, this one is actually another new one from the 21st century. It's from 2008. I think it's outstanding. I mentioned the Batman Returns earlier, but this one I like even more. It's The Dark Knight. This is from director Christopher Nolan. He just won an Oscar for Oppenheimer last year, or I guess this year for the movie that was released last year. But I think his trilogy is really great. The first one, there's some of these I would say you can argue whether the sequel is better than the original. And a lot of these I think you can probably do that. Star Trek 2, I think Spider-Man 2 might be a little bit better than the original. So a lot of these I think is great. So it's pretty special when a sequel can get released and it's better than the original, or at least as good as the original. And so this one, The Dark Knight, obviously you have Christian Bale and Heath Ledger, so great in this movie. And this movie's a little bit long too, I think, overall. But Christopher Nolan, bringing the Batman character back. So at number 3, I would probably argue I like the first one in this franchise more. But this one's from 1991. It's from director James Cameron. The movie is Terminator 2: Judgment Day. This one, Arnold's back. I thought they did a great job in this. Linda Hamilton, Edward Furlong. I love that. Was it Robert Patrick? Love what they did in this movie. I think the original was like 1984. This one's 91. So they waited a little bit while. Sometimes that doesn't work when they wait too long to make a sequel, but I think this one's great. That Industrial Light and Magic did their special effects in this, and it looks great. This is before Jurassic Park, so yeah, I think this one's outstanding. Arnold plays a different kind of character. I think the first one was he was more of a like a horror film. This one's more of an action film, but with some scary stuff in it too. But this one was a little bit more mainstream, and I think it's a great sequel too. All right, so number 2, this one's from 1986. I think this one, it's hard to say if this one's better than the original, but this one's also from James Cameron, and the movie is Aliens. Sigourney Weaver's back. She got an Oscar nomination for a role in this movie. So I think James Cameron did a great job with this sequel with Ridley Scott. Obviously did the original, and Ridley Scott said he really loved what James Cameron did with his idea and kind of expanding on it. So it's rare that the original director actually watches the sequel, and the fact that he complimented James Cameron on what he did in the sequel, that's outstanding. It says a lot, and I love the first 2 in the franchise. Alien, was it Romulus, is getting released here fairly soon. I think it's like the day after my birthday on August 16th. So number 1, if you can see my T-shirt, you can see Darth Vader on there. You can barely see him on there, but this one I think is an outstanding sequel. It's from 1980. The movie is Empire Strikes Back, or The Empire Strikes Back, but that's from director Irvin Kershner. Obviously bringing Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill back. Just that classic trio, those Americans. The original one was filmed in England, and they didn't. I guess the British cast didn't really like the Americans necessarily on that one at the time. Because the first Star Wars is so great. I think you can definitely argue whether the Empire Strikes Back is better than the original. I think they're both neck and neck, but I kind of like this one a little bit more than the original. If you've seen my top 10 lists over the years, you'll see the Empire Strikes Back usually gets the top nod, but I think the original was so great for what they did with that limited budget in 1977. Okay, so I appreciate everybody watching this video. This is a lot of fun. Like I said, please leave in the comments what some of your favorite movies would be, and movie franchises and sequels. Like I said, I just want to do number 2 in a franchise. Obviously, The Dark Knight is a new trilogy, but it's the second in that trilogy, so that's why I did it that way. But please, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing that. Please put a thumbs up on this video. It would definitely help with the YouTube algorithm, help my channel continue to grow, which it has been doing really well here lately. And everybody have a great one.